Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Pacheco with SantaFe101.com, your resource for real estate in Santa Fe and throughout New Mexico. My guest today is Rand Levitt from Pinon Properties. Rand, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, you know, when I received your bio, I thought I loved the fact that you used to be involved with Senor Murphy's. I love that story. You know, this is my hometown. So I remember in the early 1970s, I'm not sure when it actually started, but it was in the early 70s. It was so new. And
Right.
then when I used to live in New York, my mom would send me years ago, you folks used to make the green chili jelly, and she'd send me these little, these little packages of because I was so homesick for New Mexico. But I don't know if you remember when you were involved with Senor Murphy's, if you had the green chili jelly. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we still have it. Yeah, still green chili jelly, red chili jelly. Yeah.
Wow. So you've had a pretty, I guess, a very diverse, full business life here in San Jose. So tell me, before we start in on Pinon Properties, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I started out in the hotel industry, so managing hotels and then buying hotels eventually, and working multi-unit hotel management, and then Senor Murphy's, and which is a lot of retail, wholesale, manufacturing, and then I moved into another business. It was called Made in New Mexico, which was mostly an internet presence, although we had a retail store up in Taos, where we sold only products made in New Mexico. Everything from food products to lamps to books to you name it, pot holders. So but it had to be made in New Mexico and be indicative of New Mexico. So did that for a while, and then bought a couple of property management companies, merged them together, and now I own Pinyon Properties.
And so where are you from originally?
Well, I've been in Santa Fe since 1972.
Okay.
So this has pretty much been home, originally from Cleveland.
Oh, good. So what brought you out here initially? Because people, I mean, I hear this from everybody, because this is my hometown. But I hear this from everybody, that they come here, there's something about Santa Fe they can't leave once they get here.
I came out here, my parents moved here when I was in school, and my mom came out and just fell in love with it. Came back to Cleveland and said, "We're moving." My dad didn't see it. We didn't see it. We said, okay. And so moved here in 72 and been here ever since. Love it.
So you're seeing, I mean, like me, you've seen, I mean, Santa Fe's definitely changed.
Definitely changed, but it's still the same in a lot of respects. So of course it's grown up a lot. It's gotten bigger, a little more traffic, but I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather live.
Well, that's how I feel as well. But still, I find that it's changed in many respects for the better, because when I was growing up here, it was Podunkville. I mean,
Right.
You would get movies like 6 months after the rest of the country. I mean, so Santa Fe has grown up. You know, it's a sophisticated small town. So in that respect, I'm so much happier here, than at this point in my life.
It's very difficult to find a place that has this much for this size of a town, to have this much culture, these many, great restaurants, wonderful music, outside activities, friendly people, very diverse culture. It's difficult to find a place that sort of has it all.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, there are other places, but this is definitely one of them. But for sure, Santa Fe is the crown jewel of the Southwest, culturally and just lifestyle wise. And of course, we have all these surveys and everybody rates us and things. But anyway, why did you go into property management? What is it now that has drawn you to this line of work?
Well, I was looking for something that was fairly recession proof, first of all. And in retrospect, this was a great business to be in, because people are renting properties and people need to rent properties regardless of what's happening in the economy. And so it was a good move. And it turned out in retrospect, again, had I stayed in the retail business or even Senor Murphy's, I'm sure they've seen a decline, and we've just seen an increase.
And because people are just wanting to be here.
People are coming to Santa Fe. People are moving here from all over the country, all over the world. And I've seen, just really in the last 6 or 7 months since COVID started, I've seen an exodus of people from New York City, from California, from Texas, a lot of people are wanting to come to New Mexico.
Well, you know, I had heard, this is before COVID, that because everybody is Airbnb their little casitas, their apartments, that it was really hard to find rentals here, and that there's a real, we don't have enough rentals. Tell me about that.
Well, there is a shortage for sure of housing here, and a lot of it is because of the Airbnbs. I mean, there's, depending on who you speak to, there's probably 1,000 units now that are being rented out on short-term rental as Airbnbs, and more as you get closer to the downtown area. So it's really displaced a lot of potential housing, and housing is in short supply, especially something that's fairly reasonable.
Are you seeing now that with COVID, because people weren't, you know, our tourism is basically dried up for right now. Now they'll come back, but for right now, because of COVID, we are all at a standstill, because I give tours around town, so I know that. But are you seeing, are you getting people that have these Airbnbs and they're saying, hey, you know, we want to go into, you know, long-term rentals for the next couple of years, maybe?
We are getting some of that. We're getting people who have been in short-term rental for a while and are having a difficult time renting their houses. Other short-term rentals have been very successful because people are tending to want to come to Santa Fe for, instead of coming for 3 or 4 days for a short vacation, now they're coming here and saying, well, I'm working from home. I may as well be working from somewhere like Santa Fe. And so people are coming in for short-term rentals, but they're just renting it for a month. So some people have actually ended up doing better in short-term rentals, and other people not so much. But we have seen an increase.
You know, I've noticed around town there's a few large apartment complexes being built. There's one off of, I think there's one off of Rodeo that's already open now, but there are others, some I think down on Rufina being built. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Are you familiar with what's going on there?
Well, I'm not real familiar with the apartment, the situation with the apartments. I know that there's still a shortage of affordable housing. And I think most of those projects have foregone the affordable aspect. And so even a 1-bedroom apartment is going to be around $1,200. So I wouldn't consider that in the affordable range. But it's helpful, I think, in general for people moving to Santa Fe to have the more housing, the better from that perspective. And certainly the more housing that comes in, it'll start to drop the pricing down a little bit, become a little bit more realistic.
So does Pinon Properties handle houses then? I mean, what you're doing, units?
We do, mostly houses. We have about 150 properties, everything from condominiums, townhouses, houses. We have some commercial property as well too, but our specialty is houses.
And do you have people from out of state that maybe are they own these houses, but they're just using these as business investments, and so that's why they've hired you?
That's exactly right.
You know?
That's right. Yeah, a lot of people, either they're out of town. We do have some people that live maybe in Albuquerque that this is a second home. A lot of people that live out of state. Some people that live out of the country, and they're not ready to sell their property, and it's an investment, and so they hire us to take care of the property for them, and they just relax and sit back and just collect a check every month. We do everything. What does
that mean? What does everything mean?
We do the advertising. First we come in, we do all, we have a professional photographer come in, we do the images. We advertise on about 12 websites. So if you're looking for a place to live in Santa Fe, you're gonna find our ads. And then we do all of the applications. We do all the vetting. So we know by the time that person goes in the house who they are. We check their history, we check their employment, we check their credit, we check their criminal history, their eviction history. So we do a pretty full evaluation of who the people are by the time we put them in. And then we continue to check up on them. Once they move in, we'll go in and we'll check up on them in a couple of months and make sure they're taking care of the house. And if there's 2 people on the lease, there should only be 2 people living there. So we've been very successful finding good tenants. It's sort of our specialty.
And do you actually advise your clients and say, you really should rent this place for X amount of dollars? I mean, are you kind of an expert on like what housing is going, what apartments are going for right now?
We'll let them know the market value, an approximate range. we'll also go into the house and say, you know, we suggest that you upgrade this, or maybe you paint that. So we'll tell them what they need to do in order to get the minimum dollars. And if they do a little bit more, how much more they can get for their investment. So we'll advise them of that. Then once the people move in, if they have any issues with maintenance problems, we have a full service maintenance program. So we'll come in and fix everything from plumbing, electric, stucco, painting, whatever it might, you know, need to be. So we'll take care of that for them. And then of course, collect the rents and make sure it gets into their account.
Well, you know, you were saying like some of these apartments are going for like a one bedroom starts at about 1,200. What are we going to do? What's your opinion about what's going to happen here in Santa Fe? I mean, it just keeps going up and up and up, and we don't have the jobs. I mean, so it's not local people that are, you know, moving into these places. When are we going to reach our, you know, our peak here?
It's really hard to say. It's a matter of demand and supply. And as long as there's more demand than there is supply, the prices are going to keep increasing.
Well, I know, I mean, for us locals, it's expensive, but you get a lot for your money out here. You know, I mean, for $1,200, you couldn't even touch a one bedroom in New York or Los Angeles or any of the bigger cities, you know.
That's right. And when sometimes we'll show up maybe a 450 square foot casita, we think it's pretty small. That goes for maybe 12 or 1,300, and somebody comes here from New York and says, this would be $3,500 in Brooklyn, you know. So it's all, you know, it's all comparable.
Right, but I guess those little areas where you have those really expensive casitas, those are in the more like in the downtown area, the historic. That's right. Because that's how you could charge something like that, right?
That's right, something within walking distance. And the closer to the plaza you get, the more you're going to pay.
Right. And so do you advertise outside of New Mexico, or how do people find you besides where are you advertising so people can look for your ads?
We syndicate our ads, so we put them on our website on PinonProperties.com, and then it goes out to Zillow and TruliaApartments.com. There's about 7 or 8 more smaller websites. So it's all internet advertising. We're on Craigslist as well. So most of it is internet advertising. Occasionally we'll put a sign up if it's in a neighborhood that allows signage. We'll put a for rent sign up. But people can check our website, and we have all of our vacancies on the website.
Any interesting stories you know since you've been doing this? Anything interesting you want to share? Like any cool people you rented to, or any like weird experiences?
Every day is a new experience. You know, what I have noticed actually is people have been they've been just a little more frustrated, and they're a little bit more emotional during this last 6 months, and the people are ready now to sort of be over COVID, and it's not over. And so they're tired, and a lot of times they're grumpy. And so it's just our job to say, look, we understand. We're all in the same boat. And so we tried the best we can to make people feel better. And it's difficult when you're talking about people's living situation. It's not like you're selling them a product and they can complain about the product and you can just return their money or the product. You're talking about, you know, something that's very close to them that they live in every day. And so you need to try to make them happy. And that's what we try to do.
Are you getting people now that say, you know, I don't want to be next to neighbors because of COVID. I want to be away. Like I want to rent something out in the country or things like that.
We are finding that people are definitely more willing to be out in the country, particularly now as there's really nothing happening in downtown, and people don't want to be near a lot of other people. We're also finding that we have a challenge now because we can't, before COVID, we could go in and show a house while the old tenants were there. If we knew the old tenants were moving out, we could show the house while they were still there. Now we have to wait for the tenants to move out because people don't want to go in and look at a house when the tenants are there. They don't know where they've been, and tenants don't want strangers coming into their house. They don't know where they've been. So, and also we've sort of changed a lot of things. We're doing a lot of online leasing now, whereas before we had them come into the office and we'd explain the lease. Now we're doing everything by e-signature. We're also showing houses by putting lock boxes on the house, and people who want to see it, we'll give them the lockbox code. They go take a look at it, where we don't have to be there as well. So it's just less interaction.
And in terms of virtual, do you do any virtual, like showing people through like FaceTime? Do you walk? I know I've had realtors that they've actually sold houses that way. Because
That's right.
they just want a house, and then so somebody will walk by with their iPad and say, "This is the bedroom. This is the master bathroom." Have you done? Do you do stuff like that?
We do a lot of that now, whereas I didn't used to do it in the past, because people would come to Santa Fe and they'd spend 3 or 4 days looking for a place to live, and then they'd get their things and move here. But now, especially over the last few days, because now we're back to the point where you have to quarantine for 14 days. So people are calling us from all over the country, all over the world, and say, look, we're moving to Santa Fe, but I can't come out and look for a place because we have to quarantine for 14 days once we get to New Mexico, and we have to quarantine for 14 days once we get back to our home. So we're trying to find a place without coming to Santa Fe. And then of course I'll make an appointment with them, and then we'll do virtual showings or FaceTime showings or something of that nature.
But do you still have, I mean, is there enough inventory? Are you able to place people right now?
We have about seven or eight properties available. Everything from small little 360-foot studios to 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. But they go quick.
And what about the luxury? Are you doing any of those like really cool, like luxury houses in the gated communities? Do you do any of those?
We have a lot of those as well too.
Right.
We specialize in long-term rentals. So we're not doing anything under 6 months. Typically it's a year minimum. And especially those really nice houses. We have a number of houses out in Las Campanas and areas, Overlook area. And so we have a lot of really, really nice exclusive properties as well too.
And that's what was my next question is, so when you have a property, is that exclusive, or are there other, is your competition trying to rent the same house or same apartment?
No. We have a management agreement with the owners. And so they trust us, they know us. And so we sign a management agreement with them, and they know we're going to find the best tenant. So I'm not stepping over. It's not like selling a house where you might be stepping over some other agent's feet. We're exclusive.
Is there a lot of competition in what you're doing here?
There are. There's a lot of smaller firms, a couple of bigger firms. We work well with the competition. But yeah, there are other people doing this. It's a difficult business to break into because in order to be a property manager, you have to have a qualified broker. You have to be a qualified broker. And so you have to be a realtor for a while, and you have to be, you have to go through a certain amount of time and education and experience in order to be a qualified broker. Otherwise, you're not able to manage properties. So somebody who's not in the business can't just come into New Mexico and say, I want to be a property manager. You have
Are you a broker as well?
I'm an associate broker. My partner, Andy Daddio, is the qualifying broker for Pinyon Properties.
And how long has Pinon Properties been around?
18 years now.
18 years, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up here. Is there anything else you want to say? I know you've been in Santa Fe a long time. You certainly have a lot of local experience. Is there anything, when if somebody's listening to this interview, is there something that you want to say that would, hopefully steer them toward your firm versus somebody else's?
Well, I would be happy to talk about any aspect of Santa Fe. Anybody who wants to get a hold of me, you can reach me at Pinyon Properties. And if you're looking for housing, great. I'll be happy to talk to you about the market, what's available, what kind of pricing there is. Or if you want to know where to go for lunch, I can tell you that too.
I bet, right? But yeah, but it's so crazy now. Where can anybody, it's so weird. I mean, now with the restaurants, like you said, it's just, I'm just waiting for everything to shut down again. It's just.
Yeah, and it might. It looks like it might happen. And as soon as it starts getting cold, it's going to be a problem, I think, all over the country. But we'll just wait and see.
Well, Rand, you've been terrific. Thank you for spending time with me now on SantaFe101.com. And we're going to get the word out for you as well. And I'm really hoping that people are going to pick up the phone and say, Rand, I just heard you with Anna, and I want you to help me find a house.
We'd love to do that.
Well, thanks again, and we'll stay in touch. How's that?
Okay.